Hello and welcome to Trust Talks, crypto's leading conversation. My name is Pav. I'm going to be your host for today, and we're joined with two very special guests, Noah and Dusasha. Today we're discussing onboarding the next 1 billion users on chain. Now we've got these two guys from two amazing projects. I'm going to hand you guys over to you just for a brief introduction, just to share what you do at MoonPay and Wanchain, and then we'll go straight into the conversation. Ladies first, Dusasha, pleasure to have you on the show. Tell us a bit about yourself.
GM guys, so really glad to be here. Thanks a lot for inviting us. I'm Sasha. I'm heading BD at Wanchain. Really passionate about the community building, growth strategy. And for those who never heard of Wanchain, Wanchain is a leading EVM DeFi aggregation platform. Happy to be here, happy to share the experiences, happy to discuss on how we onboard first, not next, but first billion of users to the crypto. So
amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really pleasure to have you guys. Amazing campaign you guys had out this week as well. We were engaging in that, so really excited about that. Noah, tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at MoonPay, and we'll get straight into the conversation.
Perfect. I'm Noah Pompan, Director of Partnerships here at MoonPay. Super pleased to be working with both Wanchain and Trust Wallet, providing fiat on and off ramps. So our mission at MoonPay is to bridge the existing TradFi ecosystem with the crypto economy and make it as seamless as possible to go from fiat to crypto and from crypto back to fiat using a variety of payment methods. And like I said, Wanchain and Trust Wallet are two of our favorite partners. So excited to be on here with you both.
Amazing. And similar to yourself, really appreciate you taking the time to come out. I've been seeing MoonPay make a lot of waves on the timeline, really building in and sort of facilitating in that on and off ramp. And I really wanted to have this conversation because a lot of people are speaking about speculation in the market of where we're going, but overall projects like yourselves who are onboarding at massive rates, it's really important to take a wider view and have a look at what is the strategy to bring or get to 1 billion people on chain. So just before we start, I wanted to ask you guys a question, super informal, just a guess. If you had to guess right now, how many people would you say are on chain at the moment? We'll go with Dusasha first.
How many people we are seeing on chain at the moment? Let me check.
No, Google. You got a guess. Come on, just give me an estimate.
Oh, all right. So literally, I can say that there is a 1 trillion capacity for our crypto market right now. Today, I would say I started when crypto was just 1% of the total, even like less than 1% of the total population in the whole crypto world. Now it's not. Let's say maybe. Okay, I will bet on 3 million. It depends, I can have thousands of on-chain wallets. It's complicated, basically, because I'm a user of different blockchains, and it's hard to guess. But okay, I will bet on 100 million.
Okay,
100 million wallets.
I appreciate you going first, Sasha. I was going to say, based on MoonPay having over 20 million users,
wow.
I'll do a healthy multiple on that and say 150 million on-chain users have transacted on-chain. 150 million, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well, let me give you some context. Trust Wallet just hit 200 million downloads on our wallet. We've had a massive campaign for that. Super excited about that. We're actually at 562 million people, which constitutes a 6.6% of the population. Now, what was really interesting about this data is from 2024, was that's a 34% increase from 2023. We went from 420 to 562, really just highlighting the rate of growth that we're seeing and people coming on chain. And we already know, especially with the market where it's at and regulation looking, especially in America, looking a lot more favorable, this is going to exponentially increase over the next coming months and years as well. So let's start with a focus on lowering the entry to barrier, right? I know both projects here are focusing on that and having a UI and a UX that supports building and people coming on. No, you guys have built one of the most accessible on fiat on ramps in the space. What are the biggest hurdles that you've seen that users face, and how is MoonPay looking to solve them?
Yeah, so getting from fiat to crypto is typically the first step in entering the crypto economy. You download a seamless front end like Trust Wallet, and then you ultimately have to fund your wallet. And MoonPay is often the first destination that first-time users come to fund their wallet. How we approach accessibility is making all payment methods, which is an ongoing process, but we want to make all payment methods available on MoonPay. So whether you want to fund via debit card or Apple Pay or a bank account, or now your MoonPay balance, which is a new payment method we've enabled, I'll detail it further in the conversation. We want to be democratized across all payment methods for first-time users. Also, first-time users have to go through a KYC process. That's typically a hurdle that we hear a lot about. We've made an effort to maintain compliant, to stay compliant while making it seamless for first-time users. So if you have very small risk scoring based on our internal fraud model, using MoonPay for the first time is pretty seamless. You create an account, you inputs a very, very high level and simple KYC process, input those credentials, connect a debit card or a bank account, and fund your Trust Wallet and ultimately begin transacting on chain. So we've made a huge effort to democratize all payment methods and make KYC seamless for first-time users.
Yeah, I think that's a really big potential barrier to entry or a hurdle that users experience, because a lot of people come into crypto, hearing about the anonymity and the decentralization, and now they're being asked to put this information in, and making that process feel seamless and intuitive, is definitely going to aid in that person coming on chain and then interacting and having those options as well. People have that in traditional finance, right? Or in Web2, quote unquote, where it's very simple. You can pay via Apple Pay, you can pay via PayPal, you have all these options. And I think one of the key things is bringing that familiarity to on-chain and in a way that people operate. Dasasha, a very similar question to you. DeFi can feel really overwhelming for newcomers. There's, a lot of new words, a lot of new operations that people aren't familiar with. How are you guys making aggregation and swapping like an intuitive process for someone coming in?
It's a very good question, and it's worth to mention still DeFi is for more advanced users, and when it comes to our beautiful partners Trust Wallet, for sure you are the basically an entry point for us, the first entry point for us to basically start educating people on how to self-custody, on how to DeFi. So, and on our side, to make this UX UI experience is seamless, we have to pay attention on the bottlenecks, on improving the user experience, and how we did this basically, and we are still doing this, is basically coming back to the history of the swap. So first it was just P2P exchanges with you have to find someone and then you do this exchange. Then it was basically centralized exchange, not centralized. It's centralized exchanges, of course, but in decentralized world, DEX happening on the market thanks to Uniswap, and then Wanchain entered to the market. But there are still a lot of issues, like for example this sandwich attacks, and also the insane amount of gas. So we're improving our tech by basically implementing new basically innovations, and we did our fusion, which is basically MEV protected gasless swap solution, which also aggregate both centralized and decentralized liquidity, but still in self-custody way. The way how we are partnering with you, this is what basically. And now the next step for us is to basically make it even more seamless by adding cross-chain opportunities. But again, cross-chain and bridging is bridging last a few months, or even years. We saw a lot of big hacks on this industry. So on our side, we developed also like solution which not using any third parties, so it's more secure in our case, based on atomic swap solution. So coming back to your question, we're trying to basically bring the innovation and improvements to our partners like you guys who are onboarding this new generation, basically newcomers, and providing the best experience in a decentralized self-custody way by improving the innovation, implementing new mechanics and seeing what is the bottlenecks and solving these questions and issues.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic point. A few fantastic points that you raised there. Like, we know the importance that wallets play. We know the importance that a seamless UX across platforms, how important that is. And it's really great to see like a strong push for that in the last 12 months we've seen. Before it was just get people on chain, they're interacting on chain and giving them more things to do on chain. And it's almost like we've seen a maturity or a level of involvement where people realize that, the majority of the world who are coming on chain aren't familiar, and that needs to be happening in a seamless way. So that we can also get that retention. And you mentioned education there as well. We are going to be covering that because a big part of what we're doing at Trust Wallet is, heavily based around education with blog posts and informing people on how to do and what to do and manage the custody of their own funds. One of the questions that I'll have later on is how do we incorporate that in a intuitive way where it doesn't feel like, okay, now I've got to learn. It's almost like this kind of feels like I know what I'm doing and it feels natural, but at the same time you're learning. I just wanted to follow up with a question here specifically about the platforms. And we'll start with Noah. What's one of the features that you guys have brought in specifically to onboard non-crypto native users? Is there anything that stands out for you guys, which was the main focus to do that?
Yeah, so I think to bring in more communities to MoonPay, we hear it all the time, especially on X, around token listing. So certain communities are tied to certain tokens, and when we get a certain level of demand reached, we'll really bend over backwards to list tokens and super serve those communities, and then be very loud in our partner marketing to appeal to those communities. So I think a really good example is MoonPay over the past 6 months has made an effort to encompass the XRP community, or the XRP army as they're called. So we list the token as well as their stable. And you may see if you follow MoonPay on X, which I encourage everyone listening to do, our head of social, Sean, does an amazing job making certain communities feel loved. We'll create content specific to this XRP army, and the engagement in reaching that certain community with our content, it's some of our best performing, best engaged or top engaged engagement content on our entire social, across our entire social strategy. So we reach certain communities by token listing and then engaging with them with our content strategy, but then also making sure MoonPay is available in all the core applications, wallets, exchanges, in some cases games that community touches.
Yeah, it's an incredible insight, because I've seen it from the outside of how you guys have built a MoonPay and how exceptionally well your team are doing, especially on the social front. So it's great to see that that's been at the forefront, implementing and integrating communities and really growing in that way. So same question for you, Dasasha. What sort of features or designs have you guys been discussing that's going to aid those non-crypto native users to come on board?
Honestly, we have a beautiful onboarding feature that we're always using at the conferences, and when we are basically meeting the crypto newbies, is a poker chip. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's our basically 1-inch token with 1-inch tokens. So guys developed this Merkle drop, which basically allows the community, our community, to scan the QR code or to do it with NFC. Now we even improve. So they are basically can claim the 1-inch tokens, our kind of a physical airdrop into their wallet, and so that they can explore and basically start using the crypto. This is one of the basically features that we are using to onboard newcomers to basically beautiful DeFi world. And another thing is basically by coming back to the tech, it's again improving the user experience, and we have this auto approve flows that sometimes could help for those who basically do not understand what's happening around. But it could be bad and good things. You can sometimes approve something that you maybe not have to approve.
Yeah.
something that also have to pay attention on. But we have some user experience notifications for that.
I love that idea of the tokens, and you scan it and then you airdrop. I mean, it's fantastic. I think it's creativity like that which really sets apart, and makes it fun, makes it almost gamified, and you're kind of like figuring out what's going on. And then you've got this physical attribute which is now digital, and you can, it's almost like it explains it so well, right? It's almost like poetic how simple that is. Fantastic. I think it's brilliant what you guys have done.
You guys both do. I mean, as a third party here, I need to say, Trust Wallet and 1inch does the best IRL activations. So I will plug at the next crypto conference, especially in collaboration. I saw you, Sasha, last in person in Hong Kong live at a IRL activation. I think you two do it better than most other companies in
I appreciate it. Happy to team up together and do this. Three of us.
There we go. You heard it here first. Yeah, so we're actually activating at token 49 at Binance Clubhouse. So we've got some really exciting things that are coming for that. So anyone who's listening, definitely reach out. We've got an incredible merch drop that's coming as well. Give you some alpha there that's coming. Really, really cool design. Team have been working tirelessly to get 1.5 tons of merch shipped over. So we're super excited about that. One of the questions I had, Dasasha, I wanted to ask you was, what's the most surprising behavior blocker you've seen when onboarding first time users? What's like an immediate, okay, right, this is just not working?
Oh, it must, I'm not paid, like I would say I'm not paying attention on this. This is not just working. So I'm always focused on, okay, everything should, I will let you know how it works. There is no answer for me. It's not working. Okay. I will anyway show the person that it works and on board. So
okay, but how about generally then? How about what do you think as an industry is a big turn off for people coming on chain?
Well, hard to say. Need to think. Maybe Noam, you can help me in this. Let me just think about this question more.
Yeah, sure. No, over to you.
Yeah. As far as barriers we've eliminated to getting first time users on chain, I'll plug again like how we've tried to make KYC both compliant but as painless as possible. I think our widget in our partner apps is better than any other on-ramp. So it's very intuitive, going through sign up, completing your OTP, and then ultimately adding a payment method and getting started. And then I think we're the most accessible. Or I know for a fact we're the most accessible. MoonPay is more prevalent across our partner network, both Trust Wallet, 1inch, and then I'll plug our first party app to the MoonPay app. You could find it in the App Store and Google Play, as well as on moonpay.com. And once you make an account and go through KYC, you never have to do it again. So whether you're transacting on 1inch or within Trust Wallet or moonpay.com, your transaction history is logged, your payment methods are logged. The setup process, super painless. And you only have to do it once. Once you're onboarded forever. You can buy, sell, and transact using our platform across all of our partners in perpetuity.
Amazing. Dasasha, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, it was the perfect answer.
No, it's a good answer. Strong. I wanted to shift the direction of the conversation into infrastructure, education, and more about like managing that on-chain experience once people have made that first transaction, right? So we've established that onboarding has happened. We've done it in a seamless way. We appreciate the importance of that and how integral that is. Noah, like as users move beyond their first purchase, how do you envision supporting them through like their first on-chain transactions? Where does the journey, like, is that just the start of the journey, or where does that journey progress to through MoonPay?
Yeah, so MoonPay today is to enable deposit on our partners, and we want we want our end users, which are also your users, to deposit funds, let's say in Trust Wallet, and then use their Trust Wallet across the crypto ecosystem to swap, to stake, to participate in games, to use platforms like 1inch. We are completely non-discriminate into how our users use their funds. Again, we're focused on self-custody, use their funds across the crypto ecosystem. We hope they continue to top up their wallets using MoonPay to participate in other chain ecosystems, to maybe they need a little bit more of a certain token to complete a transaction. Maybe they want to off-ramp because they have to complete a purchase using fiat. MoonPay is part of the journey through top-up and off-ramping. And then as we integrate closer with some of our partners, we'll bring in that swap, stake, and now checkout experiences all within MoonPay platform. So more to come on that. And we've made some announcements I could touch on as far as acquisitions with HelioPay for actually completing that checkout flow. And then more recently, Iron, a stablecoin platform that will further bridge the traditional TradFi ecosystem with the crypto economy and make using on-chain tokens more a part of our daily life. But our hope is our customers come back again today to top up and then ultimately sell using our platform.
Yeah, got it. And Dasasha, with the average user, I mean, look, we know how high the barrier to entry to operate on chain is, right? Like it's difficult at the best of times, like you mentioned, bridging, hacking, cross-chain transactions. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? Even I'm still double checking wallet addresses twice when I'm sending test transactions if it's a large amount. How is 1inch streamlining like the multi-chain complexity? Like how are you guys simplifying operating on chain?
So basically 1inch was multi-chain before it was even trendy. Usually we basically started to do it very early.
Yeah.
And like we support in more than 10 chain, and I know we cannot compete with you guys with Trust Wallet on that multi-chain approach, but still we want users to focus on what they want to do and not where they are basically doing it. So that's why we are trying to only add the chains that are popular, that has the DeFi traction, because we are aggregator. We are aggregating liquidity sources, and for us the TVL of the basically chain is important. So we're not adding the first chain that just launched, and we're checking the traction, and then if this chain is in 1inch, meaning that there is a good DeFi traction there. And what we started to do through the Fusion Plus, like we released this Fusion Plus cross-chain approach. It's now only EVM focused, but we realized that our solution, we developed this solution chain agnostic. So it's not basically designed for EVM chains. It's designed for L1s.
Yeah.
And as well. So soon enough, we will surprise you. And this is the way how we basically approach everything. So we're basically trying to make a very, universal solution, which could be applicable for the next upcoming trend or next popular thing in the industry. And guys are thinking ahead. Our tech team is thinking ahead, and that's why most sufficient, complex, universal, but still effective chains that we're usually adding. This is, I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, it's we've seen how quick liquidity moves, right? We see how quick mind share and attention goes, and you have to be ready for that, especially if you're aggregating in the back end like you guys are. You really need to be prepared for, like you mentioned there, your tech team having that stack so that's able to actually sustain those users coming on and actually transacting on that chain, because it happens so quick sometimes. Like we saw Solana went from being the Solana, the Saga mobile phone being flooded to, millions of transactions happening, millions of tokens being launched and more people on chain in that short period of time than we'd seen in a long time. And, to have a team that's prepared for that and planning for that, I think is super important. So it's a great point. Noah, was there anything you wanted to touch on there just before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I love what Sasha said about they were at 1inch was building for a multi-chain future before that was in
I
vogue.
think, yeah.
But at MoonPay, look, we take the same approach, and I think that's why we get along so well with Trust Wallet and 1inch. Is all three of our companies are not attached at the hip to a certain chain ecosystem.
Yeah.
You go to these conferences and certain infrastructure developers wave around the EVM flag or the Solana flag. But to your point, liquidity moves across chains very, very quickly. Like if you look at DeFi Llama and you see which protocols are generating the most fees, it changes almost week over week. At least the ranking does. So our mission, again, I'll reinforce this throughout this conversation at MoonPay, is to bridge the traditional TradFi stack with this emerging crypto economy. And the crypto economy takes place across many different chains and ultimately ecosystems. And we want to serve as a bridge to provide liquidity from TradFi to crypto, regardless of what chain the end customer is transacting on. Because over time, again, it'll probably evolve as much as it has, if not more, looking back a year. And I think both Trust Wallet and 1inch are aligned in that vision.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement with both of those. I mean, Trust Wallet has 10 million assets across 100 chains. So, really, really wide span there.
Yeah, you have a speak. You have a speak. But there's always going to be a bigger boat, and we definitely look to you guys as inspiration for tokens to list and chains to adopt.
It's a really important conversation because we know that people are going to be chain agnostic. We know that they're not going to just come for one chain for one thing, right? We're having conversations about AVAX being built on gaming. We saw meme coins on Solana. We saw NFTs on EVM. So people are going to be coming to chains for different things, especially as we see more narratives arise like RWAs, gaming, as I mentioned there. People are going to want to be on different chains, and you have to be in a position where you can support and facilitate that. And it's a really important point and conversation to have, when you're onboarding 1 billion people into an infrastructure. We touched on education earlier, Sasha. My thing with education that I'm just trying to wrap my head around is education something that should be embedded into products, or should it live externally? Like, how do you approach this challenge of educating your users? Is that within app? Is that, within the ecosystem, or is it separately? How are you managing that?
Well, it's usually, again, depends on the product. I would say maybe some, like, coming back to our users, some users prefer to have some tips exactly on the moment that they are doing the transaction.
Yeah,
I don't know, go here, tap here. This number shows you that it means this, and it's always good, especially when when it comes to the DeFi products, to have this ongoing kind of assistant. Now you see the AI basically is happening right now in our world. And maybe having this DeFi assistant who will guide you on each step during the basically processing the transaction will be good. But I would say it should be a combination between both, like basically guiding users on when they are doing the transaction optionally, because not everyone needs this basically guidance. So maybe like having switch on, switch off button would be good. And at the same time, constantly educating users on first, like basically safety, on basically being compliant, also what exactly the crypto is and why is it important, how we are basically building decentralized finance freedom together, and how is it beautiful to join this industry and basically be the first adopter of this freedom of decentralized finance. It's also very important, maybe on the externally together with partners like MoonPay, Trust Wallet, so we will have a bigger reach. So that's
it's a great point. With prompts, I think having that toggle 100%, because some people come on chain and they know exactly what they're doing and they don't want to be pressing extra buttons. They want to get in, do what they need to do and get out. It was actually something I saw in my bank, actually. So, I always compare, how we're looking at how people are coming on chain and why they're coming on chain and how they're operating. I sometimes compare it to like the apps that we get with traditional finance banking. And, you know, within a traditional finance banking app, you have a section where if you want education, you can go to that. Otherwise, it's completely irrelevant to you. Like, it's not going to be there. You're not going to say anything to anyone. If you need that support, you can. I personally think that's probably a really cool idea, but I like the toggle as well, because it's like most people learn, or I think majority of people learn through doing, right? It's the best way to learn. And it's by doing that and by going through those and clicking that and copying that transaction or staking that amount of ETH or whatever your currency is how you learn. And then you see and you go through that process. Noah, same question to you really. You know, what's your thoughts on education in app or off app, or even the importance of it in general in bringing people on chain?
Yeah, I love the term in our industry, learn to earn. And sometimes that's actually materialized as far as certain applications doing quests where you could actually earn XP points and receive airdrop. Airdrop farming typically has a negative connotation, I find, but for many people, it's how they first entered into crypto. A friend of theirs told them, "Oh, you need to." Looking back a few years, you need to play Axie because you could accumulate these tokens, and those have real world application and monetary value. So in our industry, learn to earn literally does mean participate in the ecosystem and sometimes earn tokens for that behavior. I think companies, not to toot your horn too much, over at Trust Wallet do a great job at developing material for people to read, like your blogs, fantastic on your website. MoonPay does a weekly email blast called the MoonPay Minute, where you could get some documentation and education on ideas and concepts that are quite popularized, and they're very timely. Like, hats off to our marketing and content teams, because I feel like week over week they just hit the topics in a very timely manner. But I would encourage anyone new to crypto, like crypto Twitter, although it can be pretty nauseating sometimes, there is good little tidbits of content in there. So make sure you're following the right brands. I think, you know, 1inch, Trust Wallet, and MoonPay are all great accounts to follow. I think all of our personal accounts are probably good accounts to follow, and anybody new to the ecosystem, just reading as much as possible and participating as much as possible, because you may be rewarded for that with a monetary value for your time via airdrop, or ultimately making mistakes too. I find is the best way to learn. Like, I've been burned on trades using dexes, but it got me into the dex for the first time. So it's really an industry where you need to be as participatory as possible in order to maximize upside.
I'm literally laughing as you're saying that, because nothing is more sobering of a learning experience when you bridge incorrectly, or you send funds to an incorrect address. Like, you really do learn very quickly. This leads to my final question about education, and it's a really big one. And I think probably pivotal to this part of the conversation. Should we focus on education, or should we focus on abstracting complexity altogether? Like, how does that work? Where's that fine line? Back with my Web2 example of my bank, you know, whether I log into HSBC or any fiat bank, you generally, you can't go wrong, right? You intuitively know what to do, how to manage your funds, and how to operate. The same can't be said for on-chain at the moment. So I think the question is, should there be more of a focus on education, or should there be more of a strive to abstract complexity in and around those platforms?
Basic abstraction is education done right. So I think the goal isn't to basically teach gas mechanics, but it's to let people act confidentially. If someone curious, that they should be able, they have to go deeper. So that's the maybe the point.
Mic drop. Honestly, enough said there. No, over to you.
Yeah, I think crypto attracts a wide spectrum of participants. So for many mass market traditional users, like most people that have a traditional bank account and are looking to participate on chain, I think abstraction is ultimately a good thing. I think not needing to have all of your keys hidden in a safe somewhere, and have a cold wallet. Like, that's a little weird if you're used to just having your funds with Wells Fargo or Chase and spending on a debit card. So I think for crypto to appeal to more than the 550 million users, which, by the way, is much larger than I expected, to ultimately reach 1 billion people, which I believe is the topic of this conversation, abstraction is going to be very key in that. But for a small subset of users that are really active in crypto for decentralization and self-custody, sure, like, there should be solutions that continue to serve those users, ensuring that they self-custody their funds and all the other promises of crypto and Web3, such as composability and interoperability, are maintained. But I really don't see this industry reaching mass market without abstraction. Not every user is going to spend time reading the blogs and the literature and endlessly scrolling crypto Twitter. Although my hope is that they do. It's not realistic.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
I can comment on here. So basically, abstraction, there are a lot of wallets, but also another thing that I just want to jump in a little bit about how 1inch is basically contributing to this abstraction. Maybe we are not the big fans of basically adding the abstraction to our solution, because we're still focusing on the advanced users, but we're contributing to the tech. And I can see, if you can check all the Ethereum Magician basically forums, that they are trying to bring the abstraction not only for the wallet layer, but also basically on the layer basically level. And this is what maybe help us to finally onboard and maybe improve this user experience when it comes to abstraction and basically complexity. That's what I want to add here. Yeah, not just on the wallet, but on the whole layer.
Everything. No, it's a great conversation, and I'm really enjoying it, because it's it's important that projects like MoonPay, 1inch, and even Trust Wallet are having and leading these conversations. Because if we're not, who is? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost our responsibility to say, look, this is what we think is appropriate, or this is how we think we maximize on-chain users, and then what do we do, or what do we implement, growing within our ecosystem to support that and build on that. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I'll even piggyback off both of your comments here, is that the login process and the ability to navigate through an HSBC account, it is simple, but there are obviously limitations that crypto solves for. So if you wanted to send me an international wire to my US-based account on a Sunday, you can't do that, right? Like, I could send you all hours of the day for very small fees, any quantity of USGC or USDT or any other stable across 15 different networks of my choosing. I think as our industry continues to evolve, and Trust Wallet has a pretty seamless onboarding process, and you could deposit funds in your account quite seamlessly using MoonPay and swap into tokens on 1inch via the aggregator. Having the simplicity of an existing banking infrastructure with the composability, interoperability, and 24/7-ness of crypto is what we're building towards, and ultimately how we'll achieve what the title of this conversation is, getting 1 billion people on chain.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. I was laughing as you were speaking, because I'm no major fan, obviously, of fiat banks, but I actually tweeted about this a week and a half ago. I opened my my banking app, and it said, we are going to be closed between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. on Sunday. And I was like, yeah, crypto never closes. There you go. If you needed another reason why.
No, come on. Solana is not working at the weekend.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted to... Yeah, no, it's a good point. I wanted to shift again the conversation. Sorry, I'm conscious of the time that we have here today. Just in terms of retention strategies. So we've sort of looked at this process of a user coming on chain, and then they're on chain, and how do we educate them? How do we provide more value to them? How do we encourage them to stay on chain and navigate in certain different areas, whether it's DeFi? Dasasha, what's your thoughts on when, I mean, both of you, but we'll go to Dasasha first. When the markets cool off, we see, DeFi retention drops, right? What's worked well for you to keep users active, keep them loyal, especially in these cooler times in the market?
So basically, Wanchain, it was developed, it's community-driven project. So we basically, guys wanted to solve their issue by checking the best rates on the market. They developed the aggregation that check it for themselves during the hackathon in New York. So basically, and then Wanchain became a unicorn because someone just shared the link in the community, basically thanks to Liam Horm from the Ethereum Global. And then it starts sharing like in the whole community. And then now we have this community, which is very loyal, who supports us. So basically the first, again, coming back, two things that keeping us is community and value. And community I already mentioned, we very appreciate each individual user who basically, and the partner who are with us since 2019 and trying to provide the best services for them. And also coming back to the second point is value, and value when it's both basically improving the innovation all the time, checking the trends and implementing the innovation, even the trends is coming to the market. So basically leading this innovation and basically providing the best service. These two things keeps us basically on top of the market, and best race is a part of this innovative solution. So efficiency and these important points that we're keeping as a main priority for us. So that's why we're keeping.
Efficiency, user experience equals retention. I completely agree. Noah, same question to yourself. As markets cool off, onboarding or the amount of people looking to on-ramp, and even potentially off-ramp, we could see an argument that would slow down. What's MoonPay doing to keep that activity, to keep that loyalty, to maintain those users?
Okay, so a great anecdote that we discussed internally with my team today at MoonPay with Keith Grossman, our president. He shared this note and then ultimately tweeted about it, is a quote by Warren Buffett that you should be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. And I think given the ever-changing macro environment we're faced with and volatility over the last few months, MoonPay actually sees volume on days when people are both greedy and fearful because we offer both buying and selling. Nice. So we see users show up on both sides of the trade and both ends of the liquidity spectrum. And we have rolled out, I told you earlier in the show, I touch on our new balance feature, the ability to do dollar cost averaging and recurring buys via the MoonPay balance, where you could ultimately become passive. You could dollar cost average every day using our platform and lower your basis regardless of fluctuations in the market. Obviously, our industry likes when things are bullish and rosy and people's bags are fat, and seeing you guys at crypto conferences is often more fun during those periods. But the truth of our 24/7 nonstop marketplace is there is going to be volatility, and we want to provide the most payment methods. We want to provide the most seamless onboarding experience, the best fees, and the highest conversion rate, whether we're in a bull or a bear. And internally, we actually work much harder and I think are much focused. We always work hard at MoonPay, but we're much more focused in super serving the customer when times are not so good. Because when we're seeing volumes fly off the shelves and everything seems rosy, it's actually hard to know where your pain points are and what parts of the business need to be optimized. So our company, me personally, we're in this regardless of whether the chart is green or red, and we provide use cases across up days and down days.
Amazing. Yeah. And it's also about building throughout that as well, right? And being seen to build throughout that, implementing change and implementing or increasing efficiently, like Desasha mentioned there. You know, irrespective of the market, one of the things we're doing at Trust Wallet is we continue to build, and we do it aggressively, you know, whether it's through conversations like this at Trust Talks or activating at different various events that we are throughout the year. I think it's really important that that still happens, and, you know, constant changes, constant adaptations, constant refinements of product, and shipping out what users want, I think has to be at the core in those moments, because, you know, when that euphoria comes, are we, you know, our project's going to be looking at those things? Maybe not, maybe not. And I think now's the time to do that. A bit of an ambiguous question I have next, and I pause because I do realize the question I'm asking. So what does a healthy retained on-chain user look like to you? So this, obviously, you know, if you're providing a service, you want an on-chain user who's transacting every single day, 5 times a day. But what does like a healthy retained on-chain user look like to you? Like what is that user doing? How often are they transacting? You know, let's say across a month, you know, because what we're not looking for is, in both scenarios with all 3 projects, is someone who comes in, does one thing and leaves, right? So what's that healthy balance look like to you guys? Desasha, over to you.
Yeah, DGNs are healthy retail.
Yeah, DJs are extremely healthy examples.
Those are our healthies. Those who checks weekly, not just
They're your ideal. No, I
cycles.
think that's why I was laughing when I was asking, because I know, like, yeah. But what's your take on a healthy retained user though?
Yeah. So again, those who checks not just even like during the hype cycles, daily, weekly, who basically use Trust Wallet or 1H portfolio to check basically their profits, knows what basically how staking mechanics looks like, knows how to get some multi-accounting things to get your airdrop. I'm not saying that, but those who are know this, engaging with the governance for sure, because when the market is slowing down, you still can participate in the governance processing, voting, basically, and still affecting those guys can affect on the way how the industry is progressing by just participating in different DAO governance processing. And those who are basically using the quests to, again, gain something, as Non mentioned, participate in this learn and learn mechanics. So those are our healthy users.
Amazing. And Noah, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, I no disrespect to the degens that are, you know, very active on dexes, and
no one said we don't love DJs.
Yeah, I look, like the use case for crypto is only as sticky as the applications that are being built on chain, and people use crypto for different things. Like, I work with partners at MoonPay that that are building remittance platforms that all of the volume is one stable coin on one chain, and they're predominantly US based individuals sending money back to the African continent. And like, that's the only use case for crypto for that one partner, and the volume's pretty steady. So for that partner, having their customers send money back home once or twice a month is a very sticky, compelling use case. But for other partners, like for a Trust Wallet, having individuals use their Trust Wallet to swap, to bridge, to stake, to trade throughout their daily life, the same way. If you use a TradFi comp, somebody would use their brokerage platform to trade stocks. I don't think there's a certain number you can apply to it, but that it's part of their like daily zeitgeist. They're thinking about it. They're actively checking their portfolio. To me, that's a sticky user. As I know, like my data team doesn't work in qualitative; they work in quantitative. So if you want to assign a number to it, I'd like to see somebody like viewing their wallet and making a trade at least maybe once a week. If you're not sending, receiving, staking, swapping, bridging at least once a week, like, I don't know if you could be considered active. With that being said, I know people have different time horizons on their investment. But for the sake of this conversation, like you should be buying, selling, swapping, staking, bridging, at least connecting your wallet to a third-party application on a weekly basis to be considered an active crypto user.
Yeah, I actually agree. Sasha, what about you? Like once or twice a week, maybe?
No, every day. Come on.
Every day is a sticky user. No, I get it. No, fair enough. I know it was an ambiguous open-ended question, but I think it is important to be realistic when we're having these conversations, right? Like everyone wants all users to be there all of the time, but you get 1 billion people on chain, they're not going to be transacting every single day. That's just a fact of it. It's just a fact of how that's going to operate. So it's not just one conversation about, oh, let's get 1 billion people on chain, but it's about, okay, when they are on chain, how long are they going to be there? What are they going to do? Where is that liquidity going to move? Is it going to move across chains? Are they going to on-ramp? Are they going to off-ramp? How often is that going to happen?
And I don't want to cut
another conversation.
Sorry, I cut you off there, but I think the term like active on chain or active crypto user is going to be more blended with traditional daily finance tasks like swiping a debit card or sending money to a friend. As we'll go back to the abstraction conversation, as abstraction continues. Like I am actively using very good crypto-backed debit card products where I'm spending balances that exist on chain as stables. I'm receiving money from friends for dinner. A lot of my friends here in New York are pretty active in crypto, so they'll either send me a Venmo or they'll send me USDC. I'll take either. But just like I could spend my checking account balance via debit card, I transact pretty regularly on chain, spending USDC and USDT balances via crypto-backed debit card. And I think those sorts of use cases will only become more prevalent versus less prevalent.
Yeah. Again, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a great point. And especially as we get into this next hype phase of the cycle, a lot of people are going to be wanting to spend those profits, and how is that process going to work, and what's the most efficient way to do that once they've done the staking, Sasha, once they've done the trading with how are those funds then spent, like for things that need in IRL, and you need those fiat transactions, as we mentioned before. I wanted to head into the last sort of 10 minutes of the conversation, and I kind of labeled this as like the vision, some slightly controversial takes, and then a future strategy that you guys are working on. So let's work through these in the last sort of 9 minutes of the show. The first question to both of you is, and let's try and keep some short, sharp answers here. What is the biggest myth in crypto adoption that you think needs debunking? Let's go to Noah first.
Biggest myth. So I think, and a lot of my friends that are not active crypto users just bucket crypto and what all three of us do for a living with like crypto conferences and people with Bored Apes and nouns and crypto punks as their PFPs on their social media profiles, and think it's this like completely siloed, segmented industry. And I think like in the past that may have been true, but I am perhaps jaded from these conversations and weighing that against what my day-to-day looks like at MoonPay. Where at MoonPay, we're actually bridging apps like 1inch and wallets like Trust Wallet and all of our other partners closer to the existing HSBCs and Fidelities and Wells Fargo's and Chase accounts of the world, making these two historically siloed industries much more compliant and accepting and symbiotic with one another. So just given my day-to-day conversations, because like half my world are crypto people, half aren't, I think the biggest myth is that like these two worlds are not compatible and they remain siloed, and like the crypto people with their punk PFPs like are over in the corner and at their conferences in Dubai and Singapore, when the rest of the like traditional finance ecosystem is going to their jobs in button-down shirts and slacks in Midtown Manhattan. But I think the two worlds are much more symbiotic and dependent on one another than expected.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I actually completely agree. Like, crypto bros aren't weird. We're actually building something. Dasasha, how about yourself?
I think one thing the myth that I'm basically forced with is just people thinking that everyone wants to have their own bank, like crypto is their own bank, self-custody is about their own bank, but it's not about that. It's really like people want better financial tools, and crypto can provide this, as Noam basically mentioned. So it's more control of their funds, lower fees, faster access. This is what crypto is. It's not about like having your own bank in your wallet. It's just improving it's just the next step in basically evolving from like general bank and TradeFi into like more, again, decentralized freedom of finance. Maybe this is what I want to add on here. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I've just got a quick fire round. So one answer questions, one word question, one word answers, if you can, please. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the Web3 UX overnight, what would it be? Noah.
Complicated self-custody of keys. And I
Yeah,
know that's really important for some people, but
it really
I
is.
constantly stress that the keys I have hidden around, if they're still there. So making the self-custody, which is often the first step to setting up a wallet, to getting active in this ecosystem,
100% seed phrases.
somehow making that process equally as secure as the existing infra, but just less stressful.
Amazing. And Dasasha?
Yeah, so having the interoperability from the very beginning, not just thinking about like design the whole ecosystem, cross-chain and interoperable, something like that. So this is because right now, like we're forcing with all these issues, and if we think about this before, maybe there was no issues on this part.
Amazing. Next question, just before we head into the final part of the show in the last couple of minutes. If you had to bet on one vertical to onboard the next 100 million users, would it be gaming, RWAs, stable coins, or what would it be?
I would go with RWAs. I think 24/7 highly liquid markets for securities, commodities, and all assets is what the largest asset managers in the world are talking about. And if you follow the money, then I would not bet against typically what the Larry Finks of the world have to say. And for me, that's RWA and 24/7 highly liquid on-chain markets.
Amazing. Dasasha, how about yourself?
Just my own opinion, not related to Wanchain, but having this meme coin as a part of the election campaign for all politicians will be really fun experience. So we will onboard next trillion of users in every country.
You know what? You're laughing, but we saw how big that was. Like,
yes, that's what I'm
is a
saying.
new hashtag, right? It's the tokenization of culture. It's big. It's really
Yes,
big.
we had like I think like thousands of new millions of users through this insanely creative campaign. So this is maybe one of the things that will help us.
Amazing. And just final question, and just keep it as brief as you can. What can we expect to see from MoonPay? We'll do MoonPay first. In the next 6 to 12 months, in aiding onboarding. What's one or two things that you guys are really focusing on?
We are focused on really three main things: more ways to pay, more payment methods, which affect the next two, higher conversion and best rates. So we want to give people the most ways to pay. Our MoonPay Balance initiative is hugely important to our business. It's a near 100% success rate. You're funding purchases on Trust Wallet, on Wanchain, across all of our partners using your existing balance. And that, again, leads to higher conversion and better rates. And those three areas are what we're focused on day in and day out in the near term.
Amazing. And Dasasha, to you, just before we close for today.
Yeah, building the biggest cross-chain interoperable solution ever in DeFi, covering both L1s and EVMs is our main focus in the next upcoming years. Secure, gasless, safe, and with the bunch amount of liquidity in moving from one chain to another. This is something that I really can't wait to see within 1inch team developed by us.
Amazing. Really appreciate those answers, guys. We started with one question about how many people are on chain, so I'm going to close it with one question as well. There's a prediction through many studies that have happened. I don't know the validity of them, but there's a year in which majority of them are predicting we're going to hit 1 billion users. When do you think that's going to be? Sasha, over to you.
I would bet 2027.
Okay. And Noah?
I'll be more optimistic. I think late next year, 2026, we'll see a 2x from where we are today. And I think it'll be RWAs and stable coins. I think more people will remit funds using stablecoin networks and have no idea they're transacting on chain. What's the answer?
So it's actually 2030, and I think people are. This is from last year. Studies. I only had a very quick look as well, so I can't actually verify that. But across the few studies that I saw, they're thinking 2030. But it's been an incredible conversation, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us on Trust Talks, where we're having crypto's leading conversations, the largest conversations of thought leadership that are happening in the space with the most influential people who are here today. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys, and to the Trust Wallet family who tune in every week. We've got an epic conversation next week with Ledger about security, so definitely set your reminders when those announcements come out. Noah and Sasha, really appreciate your time. Thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you a lot for this beautiful conversation, guys. Happy to be a part of this. Thanks, Bob. Thanks you. Have a good day.
We'll see you at Token.
Yep,
see you at Token, guys. Let's have some fun.
I want some MoonPay match and 1inch match as well. So let's get that.
We got you.
For sure.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.